Hi there. I'm here with Barbara and Jane, two clients of mine who have decided to join in on the fun of discussing their time frames at having some yoga with me over the last few years. And one of the things I just want to mention first is that when they first started coming to yoga with me, it was at AZ Healing Center, which was the brick and mortar. And now we have shifted over into my rebranding to Yoga Amy. And they have joined in the fun, or remained in the fun, I guess is a better way of putting it. As far as what you guys have noticed, well, first, let me backtrack once more. I believe I have called you the Three Musketeers. You have another friend who couldn't be with us here today, but who was the instigator on starting the yoga?
Well, Nancy started it.
Oh.
Was it Nancy? Oh.
It was Nancy. We were having lunch one day, and she said she wanted to try yoga. And I said, you find it, and I'll go too. So she heard about Amy, and that afternoon we signed up, and then we drug Barbara into it.
And Barbara, you had the longest commute. So you were the one who had to drive the furthest, and I greatly appreciate you doing that on a weekly basis. So I'm curious, as we kind of look back to when you first started, what was maybe some of the aches or pains that were present that you've noticed have shifted already?
My back, I was stiff in my back. My sciatic nerve bothered me. And I have arthritis in both my thumbs. So when I knit, it would be painful. Didn't stop me from knitting, but it would be painful. And also my balance. My balance is much better than it used to be.
And were you noticing that coming once a week that your balance was getting better, or has that been more recently?
My balance was getting better coming once a week, and my thumbs and my back, but going 2, 3, or 4 times a week has made a huge difference.
And there's even been times you've come twice in one day.
Yes, rarely, but yes.
So the commute is much easier now.
It is much easier. I have more gas in my gas tank, and it's just the cats every once in a while get in the way, Amy.
Well, the cats are very fun to watch. They're very curious. They want to know what's going on at the computer, and you know, every now and again I'll get the backside of a cat.
Yes.
Which to me
little devils
is always a good thing, because then it shows that they respect me. So
well, that's actually, they want you to know who you are. That's how they smell one another.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Well, good. So Jane, as far as your experiences, where you started and how you're feeling these days, can you give a little background?
Well, I started in a pretty bad spot. I have an awful lot of arthritis in my lower back. And it took a while to get that moving. You know, with arthritis, you do have to move. And when it hurts, you don't want to move. So I started out once a week. But then I injured my shoulder, so I had to go to physical therapy for that. And that made it difficult to do the shoulder stuff. But they worked on my shoulders, got them loosened up, set me free. So I'm doing 3 days a week with you. And I can see the difference in my shoulder blades especially, because they're strengthening to offset the pain that's in my shoulder. So that's making a huge difference.
Yes.
And I'm finding my lower back being stretched 3 times a week has allowed me more movement during the day. So it works.
So thank you. I'm curious in regards to your knitting days together. You're at 1 day a week, is that right?
Yes. Okay. Now we were 2 before COVID.
Okay, so you're at 1 day a week. And in that one day, do you have any little pause for a moment and everybody like move their thumbs around?
No, we don't. We probably should.
We could.
You could absolutely.
Yes, we could.
We could warm up during coffee.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Time for Amy.
Get your
We'll call it Amy time.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Warm up with Amy.
Warm up
Yep,
with Amy.
warm up with
and
Amy.
get your
They do tell you in knitting that you should I think it's every 10 minutes they recommend that you stretch your hands out and work your hands and your fingers. But I hate to say it, most people don't do it, or at least do it regularly.
Right. It's hard for that every 10-minute time frame. And the other piece to that is that within that 10-minute time frame, drinking some water as well. So that's been something that I've been trying to mention to my crafters quite a bit, because once you get drawn into those projects, it's really hard to have a pause and disconnect from that, and take a drink of water or move your hands and all of that. And I have been incorporating a lot more for hands. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
We're
naming fingers is no fun, but working the fingers is okay.
That's a cognitive test.
It is. See?
For the names.
Can you remember what's this finger?
And it's so funny because my mom is in the room with me,
Oh.
straight at me. And so she'll, it's like she's really trying hard and she tries to be quiet so her voice doesn't come across. But it is very about brain. So cognitive, we're getting our coordination as well. So having that actual connection and that thinking process. So it's really great for the brain, I think. So that's good. So what have been some of your projects? Do you have projects, a little show and tell here that you can share?
I'm working on a really large shawl. And it's 2 different kinds of yarn. The colors, it's self-striping, so the colors kind of come randomly. You don't know what it's going to look like till it's finished.
That is
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So yeah, it has mohair in it. I found out I'm allergic.
Uh-oh.
Not good.
When we live in the desert, we don't use wool very frequently, so.
Well, these usually don't end up being worn a lot. They're just the hobby.
Yes. Well, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. What do you have?
It's hard to knit it's hard to knit a lot of patterns without wool. Wool drapes and it just has a quality about it that cotton, linen, maybe silk might, but there's patterns that you really need wool to look, for the finished product to look like you want it to look.
I'm not a knitter. I'm not a knitter. I tried once and I took.
You said to heck with it. Yeah, to heck with it. The heck with it.
Yes.
Well, this is a shawl that I knit, and I like to do what's called, I've forgotten what it is. That's good. They're knit-alongs, and the shows like Outlander, Game of Thrones, Downton Abbey, the knitting stores will have a knit-along, and you're knitting with people all over the world, and you're doing the same thing. Sometimes they'll do mysteries. They'll tell you it's a shawl, but you get a clue a week. And this is the one from Game of Thrones, the last season, and this is the dragon's tail. And this is warm. I'm itchy. I'm glad I can take it off.
That's beautiful. So, okay,
Now,
are you saying that you watch the show in addition to doing the knitting?
Yes, you can, or you don't have to. But it's the shows that's kind of the impetus. Jane and Nancy don't do this, but I lived in Boston when I started this, and it was a lot of people used to do that. It's fun.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, you're doing one now, kind of, Jane. That the Capacinca.
Casablanca.
Oh, see, I always say it wrong. Casapinka. Always say it wrong.
I've done Casablanca. Yes, she has a cat, and she calls her cat Susan from security.
She's a surgeon too, but she's quite a character.
Yes, she is.
Wow.
There are all kinds of people doing all kinds of knitting.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how many men knit.
Really?
Yes, and not the type you might think would knit.
So are there separate clubs for the men, or do
No.
universal? Okay.
Yeah, they just jump in.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, I'm super impressed by your skills because, like I said, I tried and got so flustered that I had to just say enough. I'm going to throw everything out the window if I'm not careful. So that's awesome.
It's like yoga, though. You have to practice and you have to work
Yes.
at it. It doesn't come right, immediately.
Some of my stuff has landed in the landfill, I will confess.
Really?
Yeah, I've gotten so mad at it, it just went.
Aw.
Yeah. We put them in what we call timeout. When you get mad at your knitting, it goes into timeout in your bedroom or your whatever room. And then when you feel like it, you'll bring it out and see if it's now behaving and you can finish it.
Oh, that's funny. I love it.
So
So
it's better than ripping it up and getting so mad you're like, ripping it.
It's a two-pronged hobby. The first part of it is going shopping for the yarn.
Oh, yes.
You could lose your mind in a yarn shop and your money.
Yeah.
And then you pick out something that you just have to make something with. And it sits in your cabinet until you get inspiration. Could be a year, could be 5 years.
Yep. And we all have what are called stashes. There are yarn stashes. And people think that, we have this odd behavior, but you have to have your stash. You need that if you have something you want to do or you love the yarn. You don't want to just get rid of it. I had to get rid of about half my yarn when I moved from Boston. And it was difficult. It was hard.
yes, I completely understand that piece about letting go of your supplies. I totally get that one. Yeah. Yeah. I love those new cabinets now that are really narrow, but then when they open up, it's like they quadruple in size. Have you seen those?
Oh, no, you shouldn't tell us, I don't think, about these.
I buy furniture for my stash.
Say that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have an armoire that's full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, to me, that organization is very important as well. So, well, good. Well, ladies, I so appreciate you taking time and explaining to me as well that I'm glad that I'm helping out your hands in this process and this time.
Very much.
Oh,
Have
I'm in worse shape than I am now.
That's
This is
great.
really improved.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And to be able, well, I see it on my end, even though I don't see you guys always up and walking around, but every now and again. And Barbara, you're taking a class that requires you to get on the floor. So that's very different.
Oh, it is. And getting up from that floor.
I'm really proud of you. I can't do that.
Well, you shouldn't be doing that.
No, well, probably not.
But let me say something though. The class that Barbara's been doing, the gentle yoga class, I have other clients that do that from their bed. So you can still get the same results. You just don't have to get down onto the floor. And it's making huge improvements. So it's just a different how we set the body up differently. And I go through those changes, the modifications with those who are in the bed instead of on the floor. So know that you can do that, Jane.
Okay.
And you just do what you can. Remember that part too.
Remember that one, yes.
Yes, it's my mantra. You do what you can, and it may not be the same 2 days in a row.
That's right. Some days you can and some days you can't.
Exactly, exactly. Well, ladies, I greatly appreciate you sharing, and I look forward to seeing you again in class soon, and can't wait to see what the end product looks like, Jane, when you finish that up, and hopefully you won't like break out in welts or anything from being allergic to the mohair.
Amy, I told her she could give it to me if, she can't wear it.
True.
I will take care of it for her.
It could easily go to you, yeah.
That one day of the year here in Arizona where it's like what, 45?
60.
60?
It is not, this is not a wool sweater climate. It really isn't.
No.
Well, I wear my cashmere sweater one day a year.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I get more out of my cashmere pashmina, like especially going to the movie theater, than I do at any other time of the year. So, well, great. Well, ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm so glad to hear that bodies are happy and moving and comfortable. And just think of me when you're having your coffee break and get your thumbs going.
Yes, and thank you, Amy, for doing this for us.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much fun to see all of the changes and how everybody was pretty good about being able to connect over to Zoom and be able to continue on keeping your practice going. So kudos.
This is so easy to do.
It is.
Coffee, go to class. You're not in the car. You're just there.
And the commute's super easy.
Right.
And always my prerequisite is you have to be dressed.
Right.
Oh.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's okay. But, you just kind of slide out of bed and throw your clothes on and get on Zoom.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And see you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Amy.